and welcome to Fine is a Four-Letter Word. My guest today is Keri Sicard. Welcome to the
Thank you
show,
for having
Keri.
me.
My pleasure, my pleasure. I'm so eager to get into this conversation. As I do, I start with the question of what were the values and beliefs that you were raised with that contributed to making you who you are?
Great question. So there are a lot to choose from. I think the number one is being honest, both to myself and to other people. I like to analogize myself to a mechanic. There are mechanics that will try to sell you every part on your car, and there are mechanics that will just sell you what you need. As an attorney, I really strive to just sell businesses what they need and not, every product under the sun just because I can for their intellectual property. So definitely honesty and hard work and, just putting in that elbow grease, that little bit of extra effort, whatever you have to do to get the job done, to do the best job. I had my first job, I think, at 14. My parents definitely instilled in me a good work ethic and to, really work hard for what you have and be proud of what you have. So I'd say those two are definitely probably the strongest.
Has that served you well, or has it hindered you in any way?
I think for the most part, it has served me well. Sometimes, I'm from New Hampshire, so there's a little bit of that neighbor helping neighbor, kind of backwoods. I've literally rescued two people from drowning because sometimes you just have to. You don't, we're not in a city where EMTs can be there within 5 minutes, so when I first started my business, yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's kind of a thing that's like, you don't hear every day. Well, I rescued two people from drowning, because sometimes you just have to. I've never had to rescue somebody from drowning, thankfully.
Yeah,
but
one.
You said it like it happens all the time. Of course, like one does.
Yeah, so, there are a lot of rural areas, so there's a lot of that neighbor helping neighbor. When I started my business, I kind of had to reel that back a little bit. I can't give away all of my time. I do need to make money, so I've kind of found a good balance of I do provide complimentary consultations for anyone that just wants to learn a little bit about intellectual property. I offer 15 minutes. Usually it runs over, but I really feel strongly that I need to spend some time chatting with someone to see if they even need intellectual property, especially, newer people that are newer to it. And then we determine, what they need or what they don't need.
Have you ever found that belief that working hard is your key to success has maybe made you work, like overwork, and not have balance? Although balance is not the right word, because I don't believe in having balance in life. I believe work and life is an integration more than a balance kind of thing. But have you ever had the situation where maybe it was out of alignment because you have this belief, I got to work hard to be
Absolutely,
successful?
especially earlier in my career. I thought everything was fine, for lack of a better word. I tried firms of different sizes. I tried smaller firms. I tried larger firms that had, tens, dozens of attorneys. That wasn't a good fit for me. I literally had a commute that was 3 to 5 hours a day.
Oh my gosh. Like, what? That's
it was crazy, but I thought, this is just what I'm supposed to do. Attorneys are expected to, whatever your commute is, that's your commute, and you put in the hours. When I graduated law school, a little over 10 years ago, you were expected to put in 1,800 to 2,000 hours a year, which is normal. That's 35 to 40 billable hours. Of course, attorneys spend a lot of time that they can't bill. Not a lot, but there's other work that you can't bill to a client. Yes.
Significant amount.
And so now the expectation with some firms is almost 3,000 hours a year, which is just crazy. And so,
That's in like that's not hardly even
exactly.
possible.
So, I thought there has to be a better way. So after, really working too hard and still not finding, I'm totally with you. I don't think, if you have a life that you need to take a significant or like you need a break from, you need to step back and evaluate why is my job making me that miserable? Could I be doing something else? Because what I'm a patent attorney. That's the same job no matter where I work. However, I have been really miserable and much happier, at other places. And it just makes a big difference where you work and who you work with. So I was bound and determined to basically be the opposite of some less preferred establishments where I've worked that were kind of had that toxic, we're fighting each other for clients. I just always thought, why not have a team mentality? So
Yeah.
COVID helped me because people realized we can do this on Zoom. We don't need to meet face to face. So,
Right. Yeah. I want to address that in a but in first I wanted to ask you about the did you have a family when you were working all those
yes,
hours?
I did. So I have three children. They are now 10, 11, and 14. So when I was commuting to Boston, oh goodness, I believe my youngest was around 3 or 4. So my youngest two were 3 and 4, or 4 and 5. I would leave the house at 3:30 in the morning, and I would get home around 8 or 9 at night. I did that 3 to 4 days a week. So for 2 years, there were, I would say, 4 to 5 days in a row where I basically wouldn't see them. Yeah, I
Oh
missed
my
out on a lot of
gosh.
family time. I didn't get a maternity leave with any of my children because I've always had a salaried position. Yeah.
What?
I had
Oh
one
my gosh. I just
I had one boss tell me that when I overheard him tell a client that I had just returned from vacation after having a kid. Um,
right. Yeah, it's a vacation. Uh-huh. Wow, dude.
I
Okay.
literally brought my laptop to the hospital with two of my three kids. It was crazy.
This is this has to
Yes, I'm
change.
on the I'm
Like
on the path to make it
not
happen.
just yes, you are, and I will get
It's
into that
crazy.
too. And on a greater level, like you're doing what you can as an individual firm and an individual attorney running your own firm now, but on a social scale, like, this is not
Yeah,
okay. I I just keep hearing these crazy stories because I don't have any children, so I didn't have this. Plus, if I had had them, I was probably already in doing my own thing at that point, so I wouldn't have been beholden to a firm. But this is insane. Like that people who are listening to your story, I'm sure have similar stories. And when we don't say anything, whether it's in this situation or any other kind of situation, when you're working for somebody or not even necessarily working for somebody, like you're in a situation and you don't speak up and try to change things, then it's just going to continue.
absolutely. And it's unfortunate because the industry that I'm in, and I'm sure there are a lot others that are this way, is you have a salary and you have a set number of hours that you have to hit. So they basically don't have to give you a maternity leave because you know you're just kind of expected to make it up before or after during the same year, and it's tough, and a lot of firms don't really have a part-time option. And the toughest thing, to be honest with you, on top of all of that, is that they really felt this strong need for me to be in the office, and I never understood that. I mean, the clients don't come into the office. Most of what we're doing is via email
Mm-hmm.
anyway. Why is it that I have to come into the office? And I've never understood it. And now that I run a firm where everyone works from home, I really don't understand it even more. But
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was a challenge for sure, especially with young kids. I missed a lot of events that I will never, my employees will say, "Oh, I have, my kids' baseball event." I'm like, "Go to it, please. Wrap it up later tonight."
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Um, do you think, I mean, obviously that's changed since
Yes.
pandemic because now people know that people can work remotely and it works. But now we're having the discussion of people coming back into the office and firms maybe doing hybrid, maybe not, maybe requiring people to come back. Do you think it's more women who are leading this charge to say no, we're not coming back in your industry?
I'm not sure if it's mostly women. My industry is predominantly male dominated. I believe it's like 80% of patent attorneys, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
even more. I think it's more a generational thing. I think that's what I'm
Okay.
finding. But it just comes down to personal preference too. There are some people that just don't enjoy, it's difficult having to discipline yourself to work from home, and you can't do all of these other
Yeah.
tasks. You need to be in the office. But I think it's just a mentality shift. I get asked lots of questions that surprise me. Like, how are you still connected? You can't just pop into someone's office the way that you could if you were working in a building together. And I said, okay, but what if we're in a let's say we were in a building together. My door may be closed. I may be on a phone call. I may not even be there. I
Right.
mean, and not only that, but you're really limited to interfacing with people the hours that they are in the office. You don't really have any good procedures in place for how do I connect with someone. I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm texting with my employees from 7 in the morning until 10 at night most days because, they have things that come up. There's no way that I would be able to have that kind of connectivity if we were all in one building. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just, I think you need to think outside of the box and make sure that you're still connected. I just scheduled a virtual cooking class um, to make yeah.
Oh,
So
how
I think you got
fun.
to have those team building activities. We actually all just met in person this past weekend to finally meet some employees that I've hired. It was a little interesting hiring people, having never met them in person.
Yeah, I
So,
bet. I bet.
yeah.
You mentioned how male dominated your industry of patent attorney work is. What inspired you to go into that?
Definitely my dad. He's also a patent attorney. And back when I was a kid, he always had prototypes. So you used to have to actually have a prototype of your invention before you could file a patent on it. So he was always coming home with really cool inventions. And even back then in the 80s and the 90s, he worked from home a few days a week, which was kind of unheard of. So I thought, that's really cool. You're always learning about something new, and you get to basically work from anywhere. That sounds, something that I definitely want to do. And so I got my engineering degree and then went on to law school. And here I am.
Okay. All right. I never really. Do most patent attorneys have an
Yes,
engineering degree?
it's a requirement. So to be a patent attorney, you have to have either a Bachelor of Science and an engineering degree, or you can take enough credits to equivalent to a Bachelor of Science, and then you have to then you go into law school, and then you have to take a special exam to be admitted to the patent bar. So, yes.
Interesting. I never thought about that until you just said that because I have a friend who is a patent attorney who also had an engineering degree first, but I never put those two together. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Um, yeah. So talk to me about how you made that transition to like, obviously you were working a million hours a week. You were never getting to see your children. What was the final straw that inspired you to say, all right, I'm done here? I'm done here, boys. I'm going to take it from here.
It was definitely, or I would say it was definitely not a linear path. It kind of, I don't know, I almost feel like I went in circles to get there, but the working that hard and, commuting to Boston kind of felt like the low point. I almost feel like I did this roller coaster ride of, okay, I found another firm. This is going to be my forever home. This can be different this time. And each time, some of them were a little better, some of them were a little worse, but it just, here's partnership track. Don't you want to be partner? Not really. That sounds terrible. You're just going to give me more work and make me contribute to overhead when all I want to do is work from home anyway. I don't need, I don't need this fancy office space. So I tried, after basically trying a few different firms, it was just, okay, I don't think it's me. I think it's just the model. The model is very broken. A couple of my colleagues, we actually joke, we call it the failing law firm partnership model because I do believe it's failing. I think not for everyone, everything has a purpose for everyone and not everything is for everyone. But I think that people want more of a team feeling. It's kind of amazed me, well, it really has amazed me a lot, how many people are latching on to this idea. I'm 100% owner, so no one is partner with me, but everyone, you would think you would have more of a team camaraderie feeling when it was a partnership, but it's actually had the opposite effect because instead it's, well, this is my client, and no, this is my client. And I have some kind of incentives in place so that if you share your work, you still, so to speak, get a piece of the pie. So if someone else works on one of your clients, you're still going to get a piece of that. So you're not getting nothing. So it incentivizes people to share the work. I've never worked anywhere that had that in place. So it's really a fun team dynamic that the best description I can provide is it's the opposite of, every bad situation. I've been asked a few times, well, what was your guidebook? And it's really, my guidebook was kind of all of the bad experiences that I had. As much as I would not want to go through them again, I am thankful for them because it really taught me, well, I don't want to do it this way. I don't want to have a toxic work environment. I want to have friendly, supportive, people can work from wherever, whenever, however much they want without stressing about minimum requirements and all of that stuff. So it's been pretty great.
So do the opposite. And the other point I want to highlight of what you were saying just now was that we expect that there's going to be a linear path in anything. And the reality is life is not linear. It is hilly, up and down. It's like you said, go in circles. Sometimes feel like your foot is nailed to the floor and you're just spinning in circles. And then there's some kind of breakthrough.
Yes, exactly. I think the most important thing to get you through that crazy path is to just keep believing in yourself. My significant other, I'm like, just tell me once a day that I can do this. That's all I need. Like, I just need to hear it and believe it. Because, you have those days where you're like, I don't know if I can do this. And if you just,
absolutely,
you just have someone in your corner, it's a big help. The other thing too is don't let people tell you that you can't do it a certain way. Just because it didn't work for them or they couldn't figure out how to make it work, that doesn't mean that you can't make it work for you. I give our attorneys a pretty good percentage commission-wise, more than most firms do, because we're a virtual firm. We try to keep our costs really low, so we don't have to charge as much. Our employees get a bigger piece. Everyone's happy. And it works out really well. And I actually had multiple people tell me, you can't give that much of a percentage. You can't do it. And it, for me, I'm the type of person, I'm like, watch me. That just, just fires me right up.
I was just going to say, I can't? Okay.
Exactly. But, I could have taken that like, oh, geez, yeah, maybe I really can't do this much and really question it. Or I can just say, okay, they didn't figure out how to make it work for them, but that's okay. My model is different. So,
Yeah. I love that. I love that whole philosophy of my model is different. And just because it didn't work for you doesn't mean it won't work for me.
exactly. But still, I asked anyone that would talk to me about any area, not just the legal field, but how did you get started? How did you do this? Get as much advice as you can and then do what works best for you.
Yeah. While you were on this path, how did you, like the whole thing, because working all those hours and having a 3 to 5 hour commute, which still just, my mind is trying to wrap itself around that idea. How did you maintain your sanity?
Good question. I'm not really sure. No. I've definitely have a really good support system of friends. I've had the same group of, there's 5 of us. We all went to college together, and they're my core group of girls, that kind of that group of people you can always count on. I think that's really helpful for anything, but especially growing a business. It can just be one person that's your cheerleader, but having, those people that are always there for you. And family, having family to count on. And honestly, I think there's just such a stigma around this, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I still go to therapy every other week. Just to, honestly, just to have a bitch session. Half the time,
Yeah.
my friends don't want to hear
Right.
it all the time, and their advice is terrible.
Right. Right. You brought up a great point. Friends are so important to our lives, and they are not our therapists or counselors or coaches. And those are 3 different roles as well. A therapist is not a coach, coach is not a therapist, but all of those have their place. And so it's not fair to expect your friends to be one of those
Exactly.
other things.
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought up that point, because that is, I really think you just hit on the trifecta of that. I think you need a good therapist or a counselor or whatever, even if there are apps you can text with now, just to have someone to vent to, join a group, anything, have that, have your group of cheerleaders, your friends, but also have a coach. I enlisted with let's say a communication coach or life coach. There are a lot of different variations of that, but what she was so helpful, extremely helpful for me, was with setting boundaries. I'll say yes to anything. Such a people pleaser. Didn't want to let anyone down. And I felt if I said no to things, I'm a failure and all that goes along with it. And she really got me out of that and into just setting the appropriate boundaries, not giving away too much of myself, not networking 5 days a week and giving out, free info, limiting that to a couple days a week. So I think really that's been incredible for me as well. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Were there other techniques or tools that you used? You were probably waking up at 2 minutes after you fell asleep. So I was going to ask if you had a morning routine, or do you have one now?
So now, it still needs work. It's a work in progress, but the minimum morning routine that I have to get in every day is I have my greens. So that's the first thing that goes into me. I like to get yoga in. And while I'm doing yoga, I've stacked that habit with some positive morning affirmations. And I can totally tell a difference in my day when I get that in and I don't get it in. So it's those three basic things. I really need to start meditating also. I think.
Why do you say you need
I
to?
just think that I need to have that period of silence. I'm always just go, 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 go. And I've been seeing that a lot as a suggestion for business growth or just mental health in general, is to, first thing in the morning, if you can, ideally multiple times, but at least first thing in the morning, don't run right out. Kind of give yourself that time to just peacefully exist.
Yeah, well, I'm all
Yes.
about the meditation and teaching it. But the reason I was asking is because I think a lot of times people feel like they need to.
Yeah.
They need to. Like, I should be doing this. And they beat themselves up for, I should be. And back, I think it was the very first episode of this podcast with Dara Dara, her name is, with Dara. We talked about shedding the shoulds because they are somewhat shameful, if we want to go with the complete alliteration here, and not beating yourself up for not doing something that you feel like you should be doing.
Yeah.
There are, of course, benefits to doing meditation in the morning. You're already doing some great things in terms of the greens and the yoga and the just getting yourself into a positive way, setting the tone for your day. And I think a lot of people don't take the time to do that, which all we can control is how we respond and react, how we respond, so that we're not just reacting from reptile brain. But all of those things that you mentioned help set us up for a better interactions throughout the day.
Exactly. And that's such an important reminder. Are you doing something because you want to be doing it or because you feel like you should be doing it? I think the meditation for me is I really want that in my day. But I do think it's really important to get rid of that, oh, I should be doing this, or that guilt, and having, there are a lot of ways to work through that, but for me it was having that coach work me through, why do you feel that way, and let's get rid of that. Shedding, I like that, shedding the shoulds.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes. Dara Goldberg. Now, whatever I was going to say just ran out of my head. Chad can edit this part. Oh, right. So I talk a lot about gratitude, obviously, too. And people are always asking me about keeping a gratitude journal. And that's another one of those things that people feel like they should be doing it. And then they wake up in the morning, or they're doing it before they go to sleep, and they're like, oh, yeah, I got to do my gratitude journal. I got to come up with 3 things I'm grateful for today. Like, it's such a hardship for the one thing. But not that you shouldn't be, not that, here we go, using the word should. Not that it wouldn't be a good idea to recognize those things you're grateful for. But when it becomes a chore, that's when you might want to revisit the belief that this is something that you have to do.
I love that. So we do something similar in our house. So when I try to have family dinners together whenever possible, sometimes with kids' sporting activities, it doesn't always happen, but I actually took this from another friend, saying the favorite part of our day. So we just go around, and the kids hated it at first. They were very I don't have anything, very resistive. And then my youngest, I would say 1 to 2 months in, started asking, are we doing our favorite part of our day today? And even though it's just one, it's one thing, and I would say it can be eating dinner together. I don't care what you say. And oftentimes it was, which is kind of nice. But you could tell that it kind of shifted their mindset just a little bit to start looking for the positives throughout their day. And I tell my kids all the time, whatever you look for, you'll find. If you look for the good, you'll find it. If you're always looking for the bad, you're going to find it. I will probably butcher it, but one of my favorite quotes is an Oprah Winfrey quote, and it's, "Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you're not thankful for what you have, more will never be enough." So I love that.
Yes, you got it. I love that one. And I love that you're doing that with your kids. We just, as we're recording this, I just finished a session with my Fuck Being Fine group program. And that was part of the conversation in today's group, was making it part of your day, whether it's you have kids or not, you have a partner, asking what was the best part of your day. We were just talking about it. And if you don't have kids at home, or you don't have a partner and you're not sitting down at dinner where you could ask this, my suggestion to my group members was text a friend and ask them, what was the best part of your day?
Love that. I love that.
Yeah. So now I have to start doing it, because I just put it out there. I'm going to start doing it.
That's great.
But yeah, such a good conversation today, Keri. I think we got so much good information here for people who are listening. Thank you for joining me. Before we go, what is the song that you listen to when you need a boost of energy? Like, you're halfway through a 5-hour commute and you're just like dragging, or you've been up for hours working on a client project and you need to power through a little bit more. What's the song you listen to? So I
have a whole playlist actually, but if I had to pick just one, I would probably say Roar by Katy Perry. So part of my commute included a 1-mile walk with my laptop in my bag down to the train station or bus station. So I would, it was great. Better, so I would put that on and jam out and walk. So it reminds me of that. Wow. And I just love the lyrics of that song. So I'll probably have to pick that one. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. And then if someone wants to continue the conversation with you, or they need your services, how do they best find you?
The best way to reach out to me would be to go to my website, virtualipllc.com. And right on the homepage, there is a link for a free 15-minute consultation. And if you want my contact info, it's on there as well under the legal team, or you can find us on LinkedIn and Facebook as well, Virtual IP Law LLC. Awesome.
Cool. I will put links to those as well in the show notes. Thanks so much for joining me today on Fine.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.